Welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm your loan partner, Tim Lee.
And I'm your mortgage coach, Nathan Kerpan.
We have a great show planned for you today. We're going to be talking about one of the big hesitations that buyers are dealing with and really have been dealing with for a number of years. There's really 5 big ones. And the one that we're going to be talking to today has to do with kind of that contingency situation of what do I do in between of the house that I have, the house that I want, and how does all of this...
right, the whole homeless, like, am I going to be homeless? Am I not?
Right.
Like, how does that work?
Do I need to rent a hotel for weeks or months?
Right. I mean, do I move twice?
What would you say is the average time somebody that sells their house before they buy their next, if they were actually doing it in steps? I've heard 45 days.
Gosh.
But
I mean, if they're doing it in steps, it just depends on when you find the right house, right? Our whole motto is right house, right location, right reason, right? And there's a lot of rights around that, but those are the main 3. So
so that we had a situation that came up with this particular issue with the contingency and a unique scenario that you were speaking to as far as what does it look like to be that strategic loan partner and come up with some solutions to that challenge. So
how do we actually strategically support you and yours, and not only that, but our partners in business, in real estate, right? Our realtors.
And what should you be looking for in a lender?
Right.
So if they're not bringing that strategy to the table, they're not giving you, hey, here's A, B, C, D. You're not getting your money's worth. You're not getting what you're paying for.
Yeah. You think you're paying for just maybe you don't even know better. Are you being served a cheeseburger? You're going to hear me say this again and again. Are you just getting a Mick mortgage? A McDonald's experience, but still maybe paying far more with less service? Or are you actually getting someone who's strategically helping you achieve financial success?
Right. So if you are in the market to buy a home or will be in the market to buy a home anytime, even in the distant future, listen carefully today as we're going to kind of walk through a number of options to see how do I get both the house that I want, that I found, and work through this transition. Because in our market and in many others, going and putting in an offer with a contingency isn't necessarily...
That's been it's forever talked about. It's certainly the last 5-6 years. It's been a whole game changer. Matter of fact, there's a whole slew of agents, realtors, real estate brokers, whatever they tend to call themselves, that have only existed in this sort of economy, right? And having 26 years plus experience, we've been kind of through various economies. I was just reminiscing even today, like we're officially 20 years out from when people started feeling the impacts in 2006 of the Great Recession. And what those things look like. But back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, so let's get into what that is, because I know you'd come up with 4 different solutions for one problem. And all of them could be the perfect solution for a family in that.
It depends on where they are, right? I met a young man today who was, under contract to buy his first house, and he asked me, he's like, well, what's the best thing I should do with my money? And I'm like, I would be giving you a wrong answer to answer that right now, because I don't know your goals, your resources, and your outlook, right? And so back to this other client, though, who we're helping right now, which is fantastic. They repeat clients. They're experiencing one of the right reasons, right? And their right reason will be here in about 9 months.
Okay.
Right.
Well, congratulations.
So, it's those life events, as they're often called in financial services, that you might be going, oh, well, who's moving in this market or in this economy? Well, they're moving because their family is growing. They're moving because there's maybe job change or different things going on.
Right.
But in this particular case, one of the first things they said to me was, and love their agent that they work with, but their agent said, hey, in this market, your best foot forward is going to be to negotiate to buy your next home without a contingency.
Right.
Now, maybe what is that, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can ask and answer the question, but in a world of multiple offers,
Yeah.
which is where we are based on a number of factors, but if a
Contingent
seller,
on what, Tim?
yeah, contingent on what
Yeah.
is that contingent on the inspection? Is it contingent on financing? Is it contingent on, in this case, our home selling
Right.
before we could actually go forward
There's
with?
and there's a good point there. There's a lot of different contingencies, but this family's focus on this contingency was their agent saying, "Hey, your best foot forward is going to be to be contingent or not contingent on the sale of your home."
Right.
So what does that mean? What comes first, chicken or the egg?
All right. So what's solution number one? The first one that you kind of come up with.
Yeah.
What is a solution to their particular challenge?
Well, the first thing is making sure we meet them where they are, asking them the question of, okay, well, do you want to own two houses at once? Whether you have the financial abundance to afford that, is that something that is very desirous here and now?
Right.
And so having had that conversation up front in the consultation and building of their pre-approval, they have said that that's not really their heart's desire.
Right.
So does that mean if they're truly going to put that best foot forward, is this going in and living with the parents in between, or is it just truly settling on, sorry, Mrs. Realtor, but we're not going to sell, or we're not going to buy without a contingency because we don't want to be in that situation. And, again, meeting them where they are, while at the same time still showing them the paths of possibility.
Right. So obviously there's always that. I mean, we're not going to really talk about the option of, well, we just stay where we are. But that's always an option.
It is.
Not one of the four that we're going to talk about.
Sure.
But, so the first one is that we would move in with our folks or something like that.
Well, and candidly, that wasn't even the first option that we're presenting to them, except for to show them what a contingent offer does look like.
Okay.
And so, and the beautiful thing of a contingent offer is going to be, it's going to make the presumption that you have sold your home. Therefore, you have, that equity in hand now to use on that next purchase, right? So you have all, assuming in this case, they had a good amount of equity, even though beautifully they've been in the home for about 4 or 5 years. And this new little bundle is making them outgrow that home. But point being, that contingent option is going to color them up, right, as much as possible with cash to go towards the next house same day. So you asked earlier, chicken and the egg, what does that look like? Well, a lot of families do sell and buy the same day. Just had that on Monday.
Right. Yeah, we've done a handful of those.
Yeah.
And we've solved those contingencies.
More than anything.
Right.
Honestly.
We've solved those contingencies before. All right. So for the sake of the time in our podcast, what are these other ones? And again, without getting too deep in the weeds, because every single situation is unique to the buyer. And that's where we come alongside with the possibilities.
Yeah, you may hear this, but may not be for you, right? But that doesn't mean pieces of this aren't. So certainly the first option is the contingency. Second option is we have a special way to unlock your equity, right? We can technically give them early access to equity, because that's usually one of the bigger obstacles,
right?
Is how do I access the equity that I need to buy the next home, as well as qualify. And we have a unique way and a tool, kind of an equity unlock tool, that will allow us to do that, give them access to a good almost 2/3 of their money that they would have if they sold, and while at the same time qualify without having that existing mortgage count against them.
Okay.
And so that's really option 2 that I'm going to show them in kind of a side-by-side analysis so they can see, well, here's what it would look like contingent, but what if that right house does come along, all the right stars align, because boy, we have those stories, right?
Yeah, in a market where houses come on and they immediately get multiple offers, you want to be ready. And thankfully,
and you want to put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and thankfully, this client is at least getting their financing in line before they've already put in an offer.
Yes, before
which
they
is
found
another podcast
house,
entirely.
Right.
So, all right, option number 3.
So that's number 2. Number 3 really then becomes, okay, Well, if you did take option 2, maybe something uncomfortable about that was you didn't necessarily unlock all your equity. In this case, numbers wise, we can unlock about 50 grand of their equity, but they're still into the 30 that they'll get when they sell the home. Okay, well, if that's the case, what do we do with that 30 when we sell the home? And we're illustrating how that 30 can either be put down later, and we do some sort of recast, getting their payment lowered to maybe what overall on the right house, because remember, payments aren't forever, but the right house at the right location for the right reason is certainly longer term, right? So that's that third option.
All right, so give them to me again.
So first option is without or with contingency.
Okay.
So second option is without contingency, because we're unlocking equity and qualifying you to buy without selling.
Okay.
Third
3 is
option,
a recast.
3 is a recast. So say it takes you 6 months to sell the home. What are you going to do with the extra money in your pocket? Or 6 months or 6 weeks, doesn't matter. What are you going to do with that extra $30K in this case?
Right. And in a recast, that extra $30K is going to go against the mortgage.
Yeah, you're going to pay down your mortgage.
And that brings up number 4, which is
well, and to finish that, number 3, you in this case $30K, it might lower your payment another $200 a month, right? Depending on the interest rate and all that jazz, which might be exactly what they were looking for in the first place. But number 4, again, strategic financial coach here, is okay. But what if we use the 30 instead of recasting? What if we use that extra 30 to get creative on things like debt elimination? Okay. And in this case, with this family, that debt elimination, using that 30 towards that, frees up over $650 in consumer debt a month. Okay. And in that fourth option, I mean, you know as well as I can do, what would that extra $650? That's certainly more impactful than $200 lower on your mortgage.
Right.
That $650 could cut the term of your mortgage itself in half.
Right.
As savings, and you don't have the consumer debt at presumably higher rates that aren't tax deductible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And let alone the other things that we're going to discuss that could be done with that $650 for other debts and things.
So right there, one issue, one hesitation for buyers, and again, it affects far more than just you. I would say probably based on some of the stats I've read that 70% of people who could buy last year did not buy. And it was one of these reasons that kind of hindered them from really being able to confidently take that next step. They lacked the clarity with certainty.
Right.
And even that last piece brought up a thought that we will have to do on a different podcast. But can I use strategy to pay off debt as I'm purchasing another house
all the time?
And we've talked about it before, that it may not even be my money that we would be using, but even seller credits to pay off other debts. So another unique
another
idea.
Opportunity. Yeah.
So, well, hey, thank you for joining us for this episode of Coach's Corner. I'm your loan partner, Tim Lee.
I'm your mortgage coach, Nathan Kerpan. For you to reach out to us, you can give us a call at 314 or text 314-551-9587, or check us out at benchmarkmidamerica.com.